Okay, so I've got a job coming up. I'm gonna need a storage container for. It's gonna be a basement remodel, and we're gonna put all the stuff that's in the basement currently in the container, and then I'm gonna rent it to the customer throughout the job. I want to put some logos on it, so I'm gonna start working on that today. This is kind of what we're going for. It's on 1/8" sheet metal. So it's 50-52 aluminum. I'm gonna get it laser cut, and then we're gonna put it on standoffs and put LED lights behind them so that at night it lights up and kind of looks good. So we're gonna start working on that. Okay, so I got these logos from Send Cut Send. They got it to me pretty quick. Let's see. Those. Let's see. Okay, so here's our main piece. There we go, looks good. And we're gonna start working on making a template. Since all these letters and pieces are individual, I'm gonna have to make a template so that when I put them on the container, they all line up straight and I'm not messing with it too much. So we're gonna start working on making a template. All right, so for our template, I got some 1/8" MDF. Don't need anything bigger than that. I'm gonna put a center line on this piece, and then I'm gonna find center. I'm gonna use the computer to get my numbers. I'm gonna find center of this, line this up, and I made the whole logo from top to bottom, from this top to the bottom of my letters, 4 foot. So this should work good. I should just have to line up the top edge. So this is slightly over 8 foot and it's slightly over 4 foot. So I'm gonna have to do some adjusting, but I'm gonna start working on that. All right, let's figure center on this piece. I'm gonna get my number off of here. All right, so since this piece isn't perfect end to end, I've got a line from the longest point to this side to the longest point to that side, which is 34 1/4 about. So if I take half of that, I'm going to be 17 1/8 to the center from the outside edge of that and from the top outside edge of that. So let's mark that. All right, so underneath, and then here, 17. Let's get that. Okay, so now this one is going to be a little tougher just because this piece, I don't have a flat edge at the top. So we're going to see what that difference is there. Inch and 3/4. So I'm probably just going to come here. A little mark. I'm going to put this square to the top there. And then put that to our mark. Oh, I'm off. What am I doing? Sorry, 1.25 inches, not 3/4. So, go. There's our center point. Flush this top edge up there. And then put it to our mark there. And then the bottom should be pretty close to center. There. Okay, that looks good. So what I'm going to do is trace this out, and then we're going to have to figure where I want my standoffs, but I'll show that when we get to that point. So I'm going to trace this. All right, let's see. All right, looks good. Now, I want to figure where I'm going to need stand-ups, because this obviously is pretty floppy. So when it's on there, I want it to be strong. And I'm going to show how I'm planning on mounting that in just a second. So let's actually do that. Let's see. All right. So let's get going. All right, so since this is aluminum and this is stainless steel, I'm going to take, this is 1/4 threaded rod. I'm going to cut these down to 3-inch pieces, and then I'm going to JB weld these on to the back side of these logos, and then put a piece of, because the container is ribbed, so I don't have a container yet, so I don't know exactly where they're going to land. So I'm going to cut like tube spacer depending on if it's on a rib or it's in a valley. But we're going to mount these on before we paint it. That way I can seal it all up and it won't rust or anything. But this is stainless, so it shouldn't have a problem anyways. So now I just need to figure where I'm going to put all of my standoffs. So I'm going to start doing that. I'm probably going to set up a time lapse because it's going to take a little while, and then we'll come back. Okay, so I got my holes or my locations marked for all my studs. They don't have to be perfect because, like I said, this is my template. So whatever this is gonna end up what this is. So they don't have to be perfectly where I need them to be. They just need to be far enough away from the edge so that I can still run my LED strips. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna see what the outside diameter of this is, and then I'm gonna drill all these out and then tack this on with hot glue, flip this over, and actually mark these on the back of this with a drill bit. So let's see what outside diameter of this is. Let's see. Oh, that's not good, is it? All right, so just under a 1/4 inch. So if I get a 1/4 inch bit, that'll work good. So let's see. All right, so that's all the holes. Now I have to do this for all the other letters too, but for now I'm gonna kind of do this one just to show you what my plan is. So let's see if that looks. All right, perfect. So I'm gonna tack this on with hot glue, and then we'll flip this and drill it. So let me get that going. Okay, so let's get this hot glued on. Try and get this exactly where it was. All right, that looks pretty good. Now I don't want to get this on here too good because I do need to take it off. So I'm just going to do the minimal amount to get this to stay. I don't know if I mentioned it, but I'm going to put these logos on both sides of the container, so I'm going to have to do everything twice. So I want to try and keep this template in best shape as I can. That way I can reuse it and I don't need to make another one. So now I'm going to try and flip this without everything coming off, because this is pretty flimsy. So we'll see if we can't get this flipped over. Good. Oh. Let's see how well this is going to work. No, it's not going to work. Might need a little more glue. That already came off there. I can glue that one. Use something to sandwich this. That's not working, is it? All right. Might need to put something to sandwich this while I flip it, or I might get away with doing this nicely. Let's see, how am I going to do this? Nope, it moved. All right. Okay. Might try and tape that and glue it. You don't want to glue that. Okay. Okay. That's on there good. All right. Let's see if we can't tape that so it'll stay better. What do I got? That'll work. All right, hopefully that'll do enough just to keep it where I need it. Let's try and do this carefully. There we go. All right. Keep that flat. How am I gonna get to the front now? Ooh. Well, that didn't work, did it? Shit. Alright. Let's change up our plan here. Alright, so it took me a minute, but I got this flipped. I just put some extra siding pieces I had to stiffen it up so this didn't bend as much. So now, with this flipped and that's on there where it needs to be, I can mark on the back side of this piece now all of my stud locations. So I'm just gonna make a small mark on each one. Okay, now we can take this off. The smaller levels would be a lot easier because it won't bend as much as this. Let's just pop that off. Hot glue gun does. There it goes. Break that too much. All right. Didn't move any, so we're good on that. I'm a little nervous about this bottom, so I'm just gonna remark these bottom ones for, because if it pushes too far away, it gets inaccurate. So just retack the bottom. Take that off. There it goes. Okay. Getting it on the ground from the table was the hardest part. Once it's flat on the floor here, it's not a problem. So let's see if those all look good, and then mash. Good. All right, only one is this one. Looks a little bit off. The rest look great. So let's pop this off. I want to bend this. There we go. The glue sticks good to this. It just doesn't stick well to this smooth surface. So now I have marks on all of this. So what I'm going to do is make them a little more pronounced. Let's see, did I get them all? Alright, that looks good. So now, all those are marked, and they should, when I put this on the container to drill the holes, these should line up perfect, if not good enough. If we have to oversize them a little bit, that'll be fine. It's not going to matter. So, where'd those go? Now, what we're gonna do, I gotta cut these into 3-inch pieces, and then I was gonna taper these so they come to a point, so when I go to JB weld these in, they can rest in those pilots I made. That way they're right in the center of where I need them to be, and they're not, because once I put JB weld all over this, I'm not gonna be able to see very well where it's at. So if I put a point, I'll know it's in the center good. Now, tomorrow, because I started this pretty late, we're gonna do all the other letters on the front, trace them, do the exact same thing, and then we'll start actually mounting up these rods. So, and then I'll show you how I'm gonna do that. So until tomorrow, that's it for tonight. All right, so it's the next day. Yesterday we got our Z all marked out. We got our layout done. So now I got all my small letters for underneath. So I'm gonna start working on laying out all those and do the exact same thing as we did with the Z. It's gonna take a little while. So I'm probably gonna put this on a time lapse and then come back after I have that all done, and I might be able to get a couple threaded rods JB welded on tonight. Hopefully I can get the Z done, if anything. So I'm gonna start doing that. Okay, so I got all these marked out, just like the top piece we did. Took a little bit more time just because there are so many of them. Basically what I did was, off my logo, I put a center line, and then I just measured to the closest straight edge on each letter and put it closest to what it is on a tape measure, because this is so accurate, but it doesn't need to be that good. So now that this is all laid out, I'm gonna hot glue these all on just like the other one, flip it, drill it, and then we'll start working on the threaded rods. I still have to do the small letters at the bottom, but I'm gonna save that for later because I want to get those threaded rods on. Okay, so the hot glue did not end up working how I wanted it to. It sticks good to the MDF. It's just these letters come with like a protective finish on them, so they're real slick and it doesn't bond to it well. So I ended up just cutting up some zip tape, and that worked good. It holds them on there good. And then I flipped it and drilled them all out. So the idea is now these have little like pilot hole marks on all of them. And I'm going to do 2 sets of these, so one in each container. I already said that last time, but it needs to be repeatable. So that's what we're doing. So now I'm going to go through, drill all these just like the Big Z, and then we'll start working on the threaded rods and let that dry overnight. All right, so this is how we're gonna mount them all. I made some cardboard squares so I can hold these perfectly plumb or square to the piece. And I put a bevel on the threads. I cut it to 3 inches, and then I put a bevel on it so that that point rests right in that pilot hole we made, and it stays perfectly center where I need it. So, and then I took a wire brush, because before with the hot glue this was so slick, so I roughed it up real good with a wire brush to make sure that JB weld is gonna stick really good. So I gotta cut, I don't know, a bunch more of these for this, and then we'll start JB welding these on. All right, we went ahead and got everything ready. I got all my jigs cut to hold these square. I got these all ground with the, or scuffed up with the wire brush, and then I took some degreaser and cleaned them all to make sure it'll get a good bond. And then on the first one, I kind of got JB Weld everywhere, and when I go to put my spacer tube on there, I want it to sit flat on the piece. So on the rest, I taped them all off to try and limit it getting too far outside of where I want it. And we got all our threaded rod cut, and I got the bevel put on those. So I'm gonna go ahead and glue all these up, and then we'll let it cure overnight. All right, I got all these on now. I ended up cutting out the tape and peeling it because once this JB Weld dries, I'll pretty much never be able to get it clean off of there. So those are all left nice and square. There's not a mess everywhere. These worked out good. They hold them enough and they hold them square while that dries. So I'm gonna turn the heat on and get it baking in here and let this dry for a good 24 hours at least. And then we'll come back and take all these off and see how well these line up with the jig to make sure everything's where I need it to be. Okay, so I took off all of my braces, the temporary ones. It has not quite been 24 hours. It's only been about 6. And I did that because these are still somewhat malleable, so I can still move the studs around. So what I did was I put it back on the jig where we drilled all our holes, and this actually worked perfect. They line right back up with all the holes that we drew out. Now obviously, since I just rough cut them with the bandsaw, some of these are a little shorter than others, so this isn't flat, but I'm very happy with how they all lined up. What I might do, because I haven't glued the letters yet, I might, right after I glue them, I'll set them right back in each hole, all the letters. That way they can dry longer in that position. But this turned out perfect. There's 18 of them and they all lined up right where I needed them, so that worked great. So a little bit of change of plans. Everything was working good. They're all lined up where I wanted them. Until I started prepping them for paint, I realized the JB Weld is not strong enough. Now, I could have told you it was not going to be the strongest bond, but I thought it would be a little bit better than it is. And if I'm going to go through all this work, I'm not going to have them be weak. So if you look, they just come right off. That isn't going to work. I mean, it's going to be on a shipping container, so if someone bumps into it or whatever and all the letters fall off, that's kind of a problem. So what I'm going to do is I ordered a CD stud welder. It's basically an automotive, like a dent puller machine. It's a Vevor 300 watt one. It's going to be here in a couple days, and we're going to do that instead. I think it's going to be way better. Now I was trying to keep costs down with the JB Weld, so it is, with all the studs and the machine, it's about 500 bucks. So I mean, it's going to be way better than what this is. It's just, you want to spend that much money. But for me, if I'm going to go through all this hassle, I'm not going to have them weak enough to where I can just break them off, because that's not going to work for me. And I already, you know, I'm going to paint these nice and everything. I want to do it one time. I don't want to do it, you know, 100 times. So in a couple of days, we'll come back and start working on putting all the studs on, see how that works. Hey guys, I'm just finishing up editing the video that you guys are watching right now. It turned out to be a long one. I made a lot of mistakes, but I learned a lot. I've never made signs like this before, and it definitely showed. In the next video, we'll make a lot more progress than this one. I know it didn't look like we got a lot done, and we were just making lots of mistakes, but that's the way it goes. Right now, I'm actually a lot farther along than in this video, so I'll give you a little sneak peek of where we're at. Got everything primed, but if you want to see us get to that point, keep watching. And once again, thank you for everyone who watched, and I'll see you on the next one.